Hey guys, welcome to another Out of Spec Bits episode. I've got something pretty cool that just rolled across my X feed. Shout out to one of our viewers, actually a couple of our viewers that sent this in to us. And the first, as far as we can tell, the first Volkswagen ID.Buzz has been wrecked here in the US. Of course, the ID.Buzz has been on sale in Europe, but actually one of the new long wheelbase first editions has already been wrecked and made its way to Copart auction. So I want to show you some of the photos of the crash, how it looks like it held up, what might happen to this vehicle, and overall just look at the first, I don't know, real ID.Buzz crash. Well, whenever cars go on sale, of course, things will happen out in the real world, and that includes sometimes accidents. And what we don't know exactly is what happened to this one. But as far as I can tell, reading through all the information on this ID.Buzz, it actually hit a guardrail. And sometimes what you'll see when vehicles hit a guardrail, if you hit it kind of head on, they'll like spear right through the vehicle. But this actually seems to have absorbed the impact pretty well. No cabin intrusion as far as we can tell. But let me pull up some photos and show you what we have going on here. So this Volkswagen ID.Buzz first edition is in Florida, and it's on Copart. And Copart is a fantastic website to buy sort of broken or crashed vehicles that you can bid on in auction. And we won't know exactly what this vehicle will sell for until it goes across the auction block. And I'm sure it won't roll across, but the lot that it's in will come up for bidding pretty soon. And I can't wait to see what the heck happens to it. The estimated retail value is $67,045. I would say, that's if it was in good condition and fixed and ready to be for sale retail. This is not going to bring $67,000 at auction, especially because, the sticker prices are high 60s, low 70s for buzzes. They're already starting to pile up on lots. Just feels maybe a little bit too rich for most people's blood in this economy and with the expected depreciation. I think that's probably the biggest driver here is when this vehicle launched, it had really bad lease incentives, which is common when a new vehicle launches. We knew there was going to be like a really mad dash to get the first batch of ID.Buzzes here in the US, but the vehicle launched so late that I think a lot of the excitement petered out after the years of waiting for this to come to our shores. And then, the folks that really wanted it kind of got the few they had on reservation or pre-orders. I was actually a reservation holder for one of these. I went to my dealer as soon as it was announced. I said, hey, we want the first one. And then, I drove it and I'm like, man, this is kind of like old tech. Super cool. One of my favorite EVs, no question. I absolutely love the Buzz. It's very spacious, really great vehicle, but it's just not pushing the boundaries of technologically what's capable with an electric car, which is what we tend to cover on Out of Spec. Now, this kind of tickles my fancy a little bit, if you will, because I like the idea of getting, if we're not going to buy the newest, latest, greatest, I kind of want a cheap, old, ratty, high mileage, something to do an ownership or long-term story on. Now, I don't think I'm going to be bidding on this particular one because it's a little bit out of my wheelhouse with the body repair. But if it was an electrical issue or something like that, we would consider doing it for Out of Spec Renew. Let's take a look at the photos. Man, that front end impact right there, zooming in on that. You can see, it doesn't have a very long nose on this thing, but it looks like it absorbed whatever impact it had pretty well. You can see the wheel cover has fallen off here on the front driver's side. It looks like it had been sitting for some time because the rotors are already rusted pretty badly there in the center. And that's not unusual for a car like this. Let's see if I can back up a little bit here. Yeah, I mean, it looks pretty good overall. Rest of the van, the front end's pretty damaged. This is a rear drive version. You can tell because it doesn't have the 4Motion badge on the back. Airbag deployed, but doesn't look like knee airbags or anything else in the cabin really has that much issue. Just taking a look at that brake pedal. There's some smudges and stuff on that brake pedal. I wonder if that's from the driver standing on the brakes before they had their impact. Not exactly sure. Don't know why this is kind of messing me up in terms of our view here. See what's going on. There we go. Now we're locked in. Go back to looking at these photos. So that was the interior. what else do we have? We have a nice front view. So looks like there probably was not a passenger at the time of the impact. And let's see, can't quite tell what the name of the person was who owned it, but that's what would pop up on that welcome screen right there. So the only reason I say there wasn't a passenger at the time of impact is because I'm not seeing a airbag deployed on the passenger side. Oh, it was someone named Matt M. We got the HD photo right there. Matt M is the one who had presumably the accident. Oh, there's some more issues than I suspected here. You can see looking at the gauge cluster at the moment, it says electrical system not working correctly. Safely stop the vehicle. And you can see it's not even indicating a park on the display over here. We have the car with the red exclamation point. It has 5,500 miles on it. So whoever had this really did drive it. That is, in a short period of time, considering that the crash must have happened at least a few weeks ago, at minimum, I would suspect, for it to get all the photos and processed and uploaded. Plus, they haven't been on sale for that long, maybe just a few months. To get 5,500 miles on it, this must have been one of the first deliveries of ID.Buzzes out there, I would suspect. It's at 67% state of charge, which is two things that I'm gathering from that. First, the electrical system's not working correctly might just be that there was a fuse or a pyro fuse or something that deployed when the airbag popped. It might be a simple reset procedure and then boom, you're good to go. I can't imagine there would be major electrical faults with something like this, taking that kind of front end damage. It could be a bent chassis, a bent, not necessarily frame, but, a bent vehicle. There could be major structural components. But once you sort out getting the high voltage disconnect back in from after the airbag popped, it would be good. I'm surprised. I assume when the airbag pops, it pops the high voltage disconnect because it's showing 67%. I'm surprised it can read state of charge, or if it's just remembering it, or if it really does still communicate state of charge. But that is a great, if you're thinking about buying this vehicle, it's a great resting state of charge. It's not perfect, but it's not super high. It's not stressing the cells. And so I think if you were to buy this secondhand, nothing to worry about with the battery sitting at 67%. You can see some of the roof panels have popped down. Taking a look over in here now. This is interesting. I'm surprised this happened from the impact. I think that's the climate control. Oh, it popped because the side curtain airbags went. So even though the passenger airbag didn't go, the side airbags went, and that's going to be kind of a pain to fix because you're going to have to drop the whole headliner now and replace those side airbags. And who knows if parts are available for Buzzes yet. Could be interesting. So that explains why the climate adjustment controls have popped out of the roof right there. Back seats, front seats, everything looks pretty good. Just this damage up front, which, none of these parts are going to be cheap. It needs a whole new crash bar for it to tear like that. It must have been a serious impact. And it seems to be a pretty located, centralized impact right to, right below that passenger headlight, probably where it hit the guardrail. Kind of looks like head on, if you ask me. They have what's left of the front bumper and the wheel cover laying on the ground. That's interesting. That wheel cover is probably reusable. That's kind of fun that they kept that there. And the final stat here would be the specs of it here. It was built in September of 2024 in Germany, as all ID.Buzzes are. The VIN number is right here, 8772 ending. And that is the Copart crashed Buzz. Interesting hit. Trying to see where I saw that it hit a guardrail. I don't know exactly. Vehicle details, minor dent and scratches. I would say that's interesting, but front end is the primary impact. It's also interesting they don't list the odometer when it clearly said 5,500 miles, but that's also Copart. They're just banging through these cars left and right, and yeah, good to go. So it was updated almost a week ago is when it ended up on Copart from the time I'm shooting this video, but it has not gone up for bidding yet. I'm really curious to see what this thing brings. In general, I'm really curious to see what happens with the secondhand ID.Buzz market in general, because they were so hot when they first came out because of all that anticipation, big events from Volkswagen, all this stuff, like really cool halo car. And if they launched it 3 years ago when we were hoping it would come out, or 4 years ago, I think they could have sold them all for 70, 75 grand. Like COVID was happening, car prices, people were paying big money for stuff. There was huge enthusiasm for van life, getting out in the open, bringing, your small friend group or family with you out into the wilderness to get away from the hustle and bustle. This really could have been a cool thing. And while it still appeals to me and I still enjoy it, I think that for the money, the battery is 10, 20, 30 kilowatt hours too short of capacity. The charging performance is totally fine, but it's not class leading. The software is actually better than most people would expect, but again, not class leading. No camp mode, no dog mode in one of the most important vehicles to have those functions. Still crazy to me how it doesn't have it. The driver assistance is serviceable for basic highway use, but nowhere near as advanced as some of the cars coming to market now, especially in China and here with Tesla in the US. And it's just a tough sell for the money. So that brings us to the secondary market, which is, well, are these things going to be, $60,000, $65,000, $67,000 retail value like this suggests? I don't think so. I think we're going to see these down into the 50s, down into the 40s very soon. And in not too much time, I could see a Buzz breaking into the high 30s. It's only going to take a matter of a couple years for them to be $37,000, $38,000. And that'll be a higher mileage, first edition, early example. But, there just seems to be no end to the electric car depreciation. And we will have plenty of videos coming on topics like that to help guide you as to whether you should lease a car, buy a broken car and fix it, buy a used car. How do you protect yourself? We will be getting into all those topics. So there you have it. As far as I can tell, the first crashed ID.Buzz on Copart. If you have heard of others or found others online, leave them in the description below. If you like this series where we look at crashed cars on Copart, I am fascinated by this. It might be fun to go and find other electric cars that are just destroyed or not. Sometimes cars end up at Copart that are completely fine and completely fine functioning. They just end up on there and they could be really good secondhand buys. So let me know if you want us to dig more into Copart. That's the ID.Buzz that's crashed. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you on another one again soon. Bye-bye.